Exposed. The sinister secrets of an Ohio sheriff, a spine-chilling tale of cursed encounters. Sarah Collins crossed her neatly trimmed lawn in Maplewood, Ohio, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows that danced like ominous specters. Just moments before, she had felt the warmth of the sun against her skin, but a sudden chill swept through the air, sinking its icy fingers into her stomach. Something was wrong in Maplewood, that much she knew. Sheriff Tom Beckett, with his charming smile and polished badge, had become a fixture in her life, or perhaps something far more sinister lay beneath his watchful gaze. It all started with the pets. First, it was Mrs. Harrison's cat, then the Baker's dog. Each mysterious disappearance echoed through the suburb, tinging the air with a sense of dread. Sarah tried to brush it off, attributing these occurrences to mere coincidence. But as she walked to the park with her spirited daughter Emily, each glimpse of Sheriff Beckett stirred a knot of anxiety in her chest. He always seemed to be there, lurking in the background, his eyes scanning the park, trailing the children like a hawk ready to swoop. It made her skin crawl, and she couldn't shake the feeling that he was more predator than protector. It wasn't long before the odd symbols began to appear, strange shapes etched in the moist earth of their backyard, twisting and turning, whispering of ancient curses. The neighbors gathered, sharing hushed whispers that echoed her own fears. Sarah had lived in Maplewood for years, and she knew the local tales, the stories of a dark lineage entrenched in betrayal and sacrifice. The sheriff's bloodline was steeped in it, a legacy marked by the shadows of past sins. The tension in the air thickened. The laughter of children faded, replaced by wary glances and quickened heartbeats. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The storm crashed that night, trees bending with the ferocity of the wind. The lights flickered as darkness enveloped their home. When Emily didn't come home from her friend's south house down the street, a visceral panic clawed at Sarah's throat. She stepped into the tempest, fear gripping her tightly. She called for Emily until her voice grew hoarse, echoing against the oppressive silence. Then, just like that, Sheriff Beckett appeared at her side. Calm, collected, as if he had been waiting for this moment. The warmth of his smile felt like a cold blade against her skin. "Let us find her together, Sarah," he said soothingly, but his cheerful demeanor felt hollow, as if he were coaxing her into a trap. Sarah couldn't shake the chilling sensation coursing through her veins. An urge to flee rather than accept his help. She looked into the shadowed distance. Something moved, a fleeting glimpse of Emily's silhouette hurtling past the flickering streetlight. A heartbeat thudded in her chest. This was the moment she had dreaded. The lines between safety and danger blurred, the whispers of betrayal echoing in her mind. She clutched her phone, dialing her only ally in this nightmare, someone who could see the truth lurking behind the surface. But with each second, Sheriff Beckett drew closer, a predator closing in on its prey. Who was the man standing beside her, protecting and watching? Sarah's heart raced as the storm raged on, the shadows deepening. The neighborhood, once a haven, had morphed into a realm of fear. And now time was slipping away. Would she unearth the truth before it was too late? Would Emily fall victim to the very darkness that loomed over them? The chilling answers hung in the air, begging to be discovered. The thunder rumbled, rolling deep and low as Sarah's grip tightened on the phone. She glanced at Sheriff Beckett, whose smile had not wavered, despite the tempest raging around them. The streetlight flickered again, casting a harsh glow that seemed to warp his features into something grotesquely cheerful as he urged her. "Come on, Sarah. We mustn't waste time." She hesitated, heart pounding. Something in his eyes glinted predatory. Was this the man she could trust? But the thought of Emily, a child lost to the shadows, spurred her forward. "Where did you see her?" she shouted over the wind, desperate for any sign of her daughter. "Let's south check the park," he said, gesturing toward the dark silhouette of the trees. Panic clawed at her insides. The park. It was the last place any parent wanted to imagine a child wandering alone, especially against the backdrop of their missing pets and the flickering symbols that invaded her dreams. They moved through the storm, rain lashing against them, lightning illuminating the ominous landscape. Every step felt treacherous, as if the very ground beneath her was shifting, threatening to consume her. Time stretched, each second a twisted eternity, the sound of their footsteps swallowed by the roiling chaos around them as they neared the park entrance. A shriek pierced through the night, sharp, shrill, and chilling. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "Emily!" she screamed, panic peeling layers from her sanity. The woods ahead loomed darker than before, and she took an involuntary step back, dread pooling in the pit of her stomach. "Stay close, Sarah," the sheriff whispered, his voice now a low, unnerving hiss. "We'll find her, I promise." But it felt more like a command than reassurance. His eyes were now scanning the shadows, searching for something, someone. Dodging branches that reached out like skeletal fingers, Sarah felt a new wave of fear. She could barely see through the sheets of rain that seemed to conspire against her. She fought back against rising terror, shoving down the thought of what might happen if they didn't find Emily soon. But then it came, a flash of movement, barely discernible against the backdrop of swirling gray. "Emily?" Sarah cried out again, desperation dripping from her voice. And then, out from the dark, a small form darted past. A wild, unkempt girl with wide eyes and muddy clothes. "Mom!" Emily squealed, but before she could reach her, twisted branches slithered around the girl's ankles, pulling her back, hard. "Emily!" Sarah lunged forward, adrenaline surging as she strained against the violent winds. But Sheriff Beckett grabbed her wrist, his grip ironclad, holding her in place. "No!" she screamed, struggling against him. "Let me go." "You don't want to go in there," Beckett said, an eerie calmness flooding his tone, as if he knew something she did not. "You can't save her." His words struck her like a physical blow. "You're wrong. She's my daughter." Sarah wriggled frantically, but he wasn't letting go. The soft sounds of sobbing mingled with the wind, drowning her in dread. Sometimes he whispered, leaning closer until his breath mingled with the storm. "The shadows take their sacrifices. You can't fight what's already been chosen." A sickening feeling knotted in her gut. The darkness of the park seemed to pulse, inviting her to step into a realm where reality twisted, where every breath tasted of decay. "Let me go," she screamed again, desperation bubbling over. But as she looked into the depths of the trees, and the agonized whispers of her daughter slipped away into the wind, Sarah could only wonder what had awakened in Maplewood. The storm raged on as shadows crept closer, a teasing promise of what lay ahead. Would she unravel the curse that bound them all? Or was she too late to save Emily from the very hands that were meant to protect? The grip on her wrist tightened, as if Sheriff Beckett's hands were shackles dragging her down into the abyss. Panic surged through Sarah, igniting her body with electricity. "Let me go," she screamed, her voice breaking against the wind's ferocity. But the sheriff's cold, calculating gaze bore down on her, more unyielding than the storm. "Sarah, listen to me," he said, his eyes glinting with something dark, something she couldn't name. "You don't understand. The forest, it's alive. It will consume you both." The words peeled back layers of her fear, revealing a pit of icy dread clenching her heart. From somewhere deep within the trees, a chilling laughter echoed, mingling with the thunder overhead. It was not Emily's laugh. It was twisted, mocking. Sarah's gut turned. "Emily!" she cried again, but her voice was lost in the maelstrom. With a sudden resolve, she jerked her arm free from Beckett's grasp, sending a jolt of adrenaline coursing through her. "I don't care. I'll take that chance. I'd rather face whatever's in that darkness than be held back by you." Ignoring the surge of warning stamped across Beckett's face, she sprinted toward the tree-line, heart racing. The shadows closed in, draping over her like a suffocating blanket. Lightning struck, illuminating the world around her in stark, brief glimpses. Trees twisted unnaturally, branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers grasping for salvation. "Sarah, wait!" Beckett's voice called after her, but his tone was too late to matter. All that filled her mind was the image of Emily trapped, a frantic ghost darting between her memories. She pushed deeper into the underbrush, heedless of the danger lurking. Ground soaked with rain turned to muck beneath her feet, yet she pressed on. The sobbing continued, a painful melody guiding her steps. "Emily," she whispered urgently, scrambling through brambles that threatened to snag at her skin. Suddenly, the sobbing stopped, silence enveloped her, pregnant and suffocating. She paused, breathless. "Emily?" The name fell flat, swallowed by the emptiness, echoing back at her like a taunt. And that S when she sensed it, the shift in the air. Something was watching her, lurking just beyond the edges of her sight. Heart thudding wildly, she turned slowly, scanning the darkness through the haze of rain. A shadow shifted, and then another coalescing into shapes. The figures were indistinct, but she could feel their malevolence. They were stifling and real, a dark tide creeping closer. Every hair on her body stood on end. "Return what is taken," a voice hissed from the depths, a chorus of whispers merging into one horrific command. "Or pay the price." "Emily!" Panic clawed its way up her throat. She strained her ears, desperate for a sign of life, desperate to break through the web of shadows closing in around her. Then another flicker of lightning illuminated the clearing. Her heart dropped. In the center stood a figure, Emily, frozen beneath the gnarled branches, eyes wide in terror but mirroring an unnatural calm. "Mom!" she called, voice trembling wildly, as if carried on a fragile thread. But before Sarah could reach out, a powerful force yanked Emily back, dragging her further into the shadows. "No, no, let her go." Sarah lunged forward, but a suffocating darkness coiled around her, immobilizing her. "Sacrifice," the shadows whispered, their voices now an inescapable chant. Sacrifice, just as despair threatened to consume her. Sarah glimpsed Sheriff Beckett's silhouette against the chaos. He was grinning, a mad glimmer in his eye. "It's time," he said softly, as the storm raged on, drowning out all semblance of hope. What did he mean by that? What price would she have to pay? In that eternal moment of dread, the storm cracked overhead, and the world around her shattered. Sarah's breath caught. There lay her choice. Plunge deeper into the darkness or seek the truth hidden beneath the storm. But this time, would she be damned for it? The shadows wrapped around Sarah tighter than any chain, entrapping her in a cold grip that drained her resolve. Each breath felt labored, as if the air itself conspired against her. She fought against the darkness but found herself sinking, slipping back into the nightmares that haunted her. "Emily!" she shouted again, desperation flooding every syllable. But the darkness coiled, silencing her pleas. Flickers of lightning coursed above, illuminating the grotesque branches like gnarled fingers stretching out for their prey. Beckett stepped closer, his smile unsettling against the swirling chaos. "You think you can save her, don't you?" His tone was mocking, menacing. "The forest demands a toll." The echo of his words rattled in Sarah's mind, sharpening her panic into a blade of terror. What did he mean? A toll? Her heart thundered as unseen entities pulsed around her, their whispers growing more insistent, more sinister. "Give what was taken," they chanted. Each iteration of the phrase tightened the vice around her throat. What had been taken? Could it be Emily? Could it be her? Caught between shimmering flashes of fear and resolve, Sarah turned back toward her daughter, desperate to break through the shadows, her heart hammering wildly as she felt the rising tide of darkness. She surged forward, limbs flailing, reaching out with trembling fingers. "I'm coming, Emily!" But the shadows lunged, pushing her back. "Mom!" Emily's voice was a wisp of breath, fading as if sucked into a black hole. Sarah fought like a wild animal, but the unseen force was relentless, pulling her deeper into the abyss. Panic morphed into rage, boiling over. "You won, take her. Let her go." But the shadows only laughed, a cacophony of mockery swirling around her, stinging her ears. She hesitated only for a moment, the storm deafening, swirling chaos crackling above her. Emily's face, twisted in fear and silence, fueled an inferno inside her. "Take it back," she screamed, not even aware of what she was offering in response. The murmurs quieted, the shadows receding just slightly. A heartbeat of calm settled over the clearing. Sarah seized the moment, charging toward Emily with newfound determination. The storm raged above, yet her focus was singular. "I will find you," she cried, voice fierce. And then, as if the forest itself recoiled at her defiance, the air shifted again. A shape emerged from the darkness, gliding through the rain with alarming ease. The figure was clad in rags that looked woven from night itself. "One must pay," it intoned, voice like gravel scraping against steel. "To save, one must lose." Sickening dread pooled in Sarah's stomach. "What do you want?" The figure raised a hand, and in the glimmer of the lightning, Sarah saw it a shining object. With trembling fingers, she reached for the piece of her soul she had not known was missing. Memories of laughter, joy, whispers of bedtime stories, the very essence of her love for Emily. It looked so fragile, shimmering like a broken promise. Sacrifice, it hissed, or let the shadows take her. The weight of the choice bore down on her like an anchor. In that charged moment, Sarah's heart split between saving her daughter or losing fragments of herself forever. The decision twisted within her, a web of dread and love. A low growl echoed behind her, and Sarah realized the shadows were closing in again. "No," she yelled, abandoning hesitation. "I will not lose my child." With a final, desperate leap, she lunged towards Emily's shadowed form, ready to confront whatever darkness lay ahead, ready to offer up everything she had to save her daughter. But as she reached the edge of the abyss, something cold and claw-like seized her around the waist, and the ground beneath her erupted into chaos. The storm roared, and with a final crash of thunder, the world fell apart. What price would she pay to reclaim her daughter? And would there be anything left of her to keep? The darkness twisted and writhed around Sarah, drinking in her screams as she struggled against the grip of the unseen presence holding her captive. Panic flooded her veins, sharp as ice. Each heartbeat felt like a hammer striking her chest, drowning out the thunder even as it crackled overhead. She felt her feet lift off the ground, suspended in the air like a marionette strung up by invisible threads. The shadows undulated, swallowing her surroundings. They encroached with a hunger that clawed at her skin, biting into her resolve. "No," she gasped, fighting against the void. Suddenly, the world twisted again, and Sarah found herself not on the forest floor but in a dismal room lit only by flickering candlelight. The shadows morphed into the familiar landscapes of her childhood fears, a creeping dread from long ago, tinged with shades of forgotten memories. The walls were lined with photographs, each one depicting moments of joy that now felt like taunts. "Mommy!" The cry echoed, small and frightened. Sarah spun toward the sound. There was Emily, her daughter, standing at the end of a long hallway. But the girl was different. Her eyes held a strange emptiness, a vast well of sorrow that seemed to pull at the very fabric of the air around her. "Help me," she whimpered, her small frame trembling. "Emily!" Sarah reached for her, desperation giving her wings, but as she took a step forward, the floorboards creaked and buckled, pulling apart like a mouth ready to swallow her whole. The moment shattered. The candlelight flickered violently, and she was thrust back into the storm's grasp. Rain lashed against her face, teeth chattering with icy dread. "This can't be happening," she cried, trying to focus. She had to bring Emily back. She had to break this curse. "Sacrifice," the figure of darkness whispered as it moved closer, its face still concealed under a veil of shadow. "Your love has a price. What do I need to do?" Her voice broke but was full of defiance. "Your soul is heavy with grief. It must be lightened to save her." The figure extended its hand once more, the glimmering object so tantalizingly close yet haunting in its implications. "Please," Sarah's heart raced. "I'd give anything for her. I would. Just tell me what to do." The forest shuddered, branches snapping like bones, and she felt the pulse of the shadows, hungry for a choice. What you offer may not be returned, it warned. The toll must be paid in truth. Truth? She repeated, mind racing. Then it hit her, the regret, the unspoken words, the fear of failure that had haunted her since Emily's birth. Emily is the words stumbled over each other in her throat, trembling at the edge of understanding. She is the greatest part of me. Without her, I would. A rumble of thunder distorted her thoughts, casting shadows of her past regrets she had failed to protect, to guide. Would letting go of those failures mean sacrificing the memories she cherished? Choose, Sarah. The voice hissed, hollow and echoing through her mind. Each piece you surrender can lead you closer or farther from saving her. But at what cost? The shadows coiled tighter, teasing her resolve. She knew she was on the brink. The chill seeped deeper, snaking into her very being. What if Emily was stranded in the void forever? No. The force of her scream sent ripples through the dark, and in that moment, clarity broke through the haze. I can't lose her. She stepped forward, reaching for the shimmering piece, panic surging within her. But all at once, the shadows recoiled, and in that instant of vulnerability, she felt a presence behind her. A cold, overwhelming dread swept over her as a dark laugh reverberated through the storm. Will you sacrifice her for yourself? The shadows quivered with anticipation. Will you face the truth of your own heart? Sarah froze, heart racing, breath hitching in her throat. The choice had become intertwined with her very essence. As the ground quaked, she realized that salvation was not only for Emily, it had to be for herself as well. Would she have the courage to confront her own darkness? Time slipped like the rain, and the whispers around her rose into a chorus. The storm raged, twisting her fate into a labyrinth of terror, and Sarah was left with one final question. What awaited her on the other side of sacrifice? Sarah. The voice, distant and echoing, pulled her from the grip of shadowy despair. Yet it felt like a riddle wrapped in dread. The darkness still loomed, shrouding her in a veil of uncertainty. She turned, despair clear on her face, desperate for its source, but it was not Emily's voice. Who's there? Her voice quivered, the words blending with the wind. Come closer. The voice beckoned, low and inviting. I can help you. She hesitated, the weight of her fear binding her to the spot. The shadows writhed around her legs, hissing softly, discontent with any movement. Help? How? I know your pain, it said. I know why you've come. A figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette tall and imposing yet indistinct, as if shrouded in a deeper shadow. You're torn between love and loss, Sarah, it continued, but you must confront both to save Emily. Show me, she cried, the desperation in her voice sharp like glass. Very well, the figure intoned, its voice echoing like the tolling of a bell. Follow me. With a hesitant step, she ventured toward the figure, the forest shifting around her. It seemed to whisper secrets, conspiratorial murmurs threading the air as they walked. The trees bowed low, their gnarled branches grasping at her, urging her back. But she pressed on. Your memories are not just pain, the figure said, moving with quiet certainty. They are truth buried beneath grief. They reached a clearing and Sarah gasped. The ground was littered with shards of glass, catching the faint light like a million shattered stars. Within each fragment, she saw distorted reflections of herself, moments of laughter, regret, and despair. Look closer, the figure urged. Tentatively, she knelt beside the closest shard. It depicted Emily, joyful and radiant, her infectious laughter echoing. But flickers of darkness snaked through the edges, grief she had tried to bury, moments when she thought Emily might be lost forever. No, the word was a whisper, stricken by dread. The truth of your heart is here, the figure said gently. Face it. As she examined the glass, a memory surged, Emily chasing butterflies in the backyard, carefree. Then the shadows began to encroach on that moment too. A chill crept into her bones, and panic rushed through her. Stop. I won't let you. But the darkness surrounded the memory, pulling it apart, blurring the colors of joy into muted tones of despair. She was losing those moments to the void. Each memory holds both cherished happiness and lurking sorrow, the figure stated. You must accept them fully or be lost. No, she screamed, rising to her feet. I won't accept the pain. It's too much. Then you are sacrificing Emily for your fear, the figure replied coldly. You cannot hide from the shadows that have grown in your heart. The shadows writhed in agreement, hungry for her decision. Sarah felt a suffocating weight pressing down from every direction. Her breathing quickened, sharp breaths cutting through the thick air. What do I do? Release the burden, the figure commanded, its voice turning thunderous. Only then can you truly save her. Heart pounding, she stepped closer to the shimmering glass beneath her. What if facing the pain of her past was the key to bringing Emily back? What if letting go meant losing more than memories? The wind howled, framing her thoughts in stormy chaos. As the shadows wove tighter around her, she knew the answer lay within the deepest corners of her heart. Grief and love, intertwined. Will you face the truth? Will you dare to choose? The forest fell silent, a rising tension hovering in the air. In that pregnant pause, she realized the darkness was waiting, bated breath in the storm of her own making. Sarah, the sound of her name echoed with urgency, slicing through her thoughts. She had to decide, but the question remained. Could love be powerful enough to wrestle free from her own despair? Sudden gusts swept through, tossing leaves and shadows alike, demanding her answer. It was now or never. With shaky resolve, she reached towards the sharp edges of memory, ready to confront the storm within. But would she be crushed by what she unearths, or would it set both her and Emily free? As she took that fateful step, she felt the ground shake beneath her feet, and the darkness roared in anticipation of her choice. What awaited her beyond the threshold of acceptance? Would she find salvation or only deeper terror? The moment her fingers brushed the shards of glass, a shock surged through Sarah, like ice piercing her heart. 1,000 images rushed into her mind, each one pulling her deeper into the past, tearing at the frayed edges of her sanity. Darkness swirled in around her and time stretched impossibly long. She gasped as the whirling visions became clear. What she saw wasn't just memories. They were echoes of pain, lost hours replayed like a cursed film. Images of Emily, alive and vibrant, then suddenly fading into harrowing moments of panic and desperation. She felt as if she were shattering apart. Her whole existence hung between joy and an ever-tightening noose of grief. Look deeper, the figure demanded, its voice now a low growl as the shadows thickened, swirling closer with every heartbeat. Feel the weight of each shard. Only then can you understand. No, I can't. Sarah's voice trembled as the urge to recoil gripped her, but she remained rooted to the spot, desperation keeping her anchored. Will you sacrifice your heart to save her? The figure leaned closer, its breath a putrid whisper. Or will you cling to the illusion of freedom? The choice loomed like a black cloud above her. She pressed forward, drawing strength from the love she felt for Emily, steeling herself against the temptation of the dark. With shaking hands, she swept aside the glass shards and grasped the ground beneath. Suddenly, a scream rang out, sharp and haunting. It echoed through the clearing, bouncing off the trees, shattering her focus. Sarah, please. It was Emily's voice, distorted yet filled with a deep-seated fear, clawing at her heart. Emily, where are you? The shadows twisted into elongated forms, each one morphing into figures of her past friends lost, moments she wished she could change. Each apparition echoed her sorrow, taunted her resolve. Do you think clinging to memories will save you? They sneered, their combined voices creating a cacophony of doubt and terror. You will never escape. Terror wrapped its icy fingers around her throat. Panic surged as her breath came in quick, shallow bursts. No, she shouted. With newfound determination, she bellowed, I choose love. The moment she uttered the words, the ground beneath her trembled violently. The shadows lashed out, swirling as a storm around her, shrieking in fury. The figure's features contorted in rage, the gloom thickening until it felt as though the very air was closing in, suffocating her. "Love is not enough," it roared. "You'll only drown in your sacrifice and lose everything." And then, without warning, the images in the shards erupted into blinding light. Each memory twisted, merging with the present. She could see Emily through the veil of brightness now, a flicker of her face shining like a beacon, desperately reaching out. Sarah's heart soared amidst the chaos. "Fight back," she shouted, lunging toward the light, her hands grasping through the blinding energy. She felt warmth enveloping her, the shadows recoiling as the brilliance pushed back against the darkness. "I want to lose you again." But the shadows retaliated, rage erupting in a furious whirlwind. The air crackled with tension, and a voice thin and cruel slithered into her ear. "You really think you can just break free? You're tied to your grief. Forever." Suddenly, she was thrown back, landing among the shards, pieces slicing into her skin. The sharp pain only exhilarated her, igniting a fierce resolve. She was not just fighting for her memories or Emily. She was fighting for herself. "Where are you, Emily?" she cried, the world around her trembling. An answer came, soft yet firm, cutting through the shadows. "In the truth, find me there." In that instant, the shadows trembled and faded just enough to reveal an opening, a path veiled in light. What was hidden from her for so long began to unfurl, and she knew right then that the key to saving Emily lay within. "Can you face the truth that binds you?" Her heart raced as she stepped towards the opening, fraught with fear but fueled by love. Each step forward felt like a leap into the unknown, but she refused to be ensnared. What awaited her on the other side? Would the truth unleash salvation or summon an even darker fate? The passage drew closer, the light shimmering like hope amidst despair. Sarah hesitated for just a moment, uncertainty gnawing at her resolve. The shadows behind her churned malevolently, whispering siren songs of doubt that clawed at her mind. "Don't look back," she urged herself, but the echo of Emily's voice haunted her, desperate and pleading. Each step drew her deeper into the white, engulfing light. As she crossed the threshold, reality shattered. The world morphed, and she found herself standing in a forgotten room, the air heavy with dust and silence. Familiar yet alien. The small space was filled with relics her mind had archived long ago. Her childhood memories lay strewn across the floor. Old photo albums opened to images of Emily laughing in the sun, carefree. But the warmth quickly bled out as the shadows infiltrated the sanctuary, spilling from the corners like smoke. They writhed around her legs, their whispers sharpening into vicious barbs. "Feel the truth, Sarah. It's darker than you think." The figure reappeared, its face twisted, flickering in and out of focus, its lips stretching in a cruel smile. "You think love conquers all? Look at these memories, they're rotting." The album pages crinkled as a shadow extended toward them, dragging them into a void of despair. Photos warped, transforming Emily's bright smile into twisted grimaces of anguish. Sarah stumbled back, nausea gripping her, forcing her to breathe through the terror threatening to suffocate her. "No, this isn't real," she screamed, but doubt gnawed at her heart. The terror in her chest turned to ice. "Isn't it?" The voice persisted. "These moments are your creation. Your guilt, your sorrow. Your truth will bind you tighter than any chains." Sarah's vision blurred. It felt as if the room pulsated, the shadows thickening into grotesque shapes. Time twisted, the floor beneath her shifting underfoot. Then, amidst the chaos, a single whisper threaded through the cacophony of despair. "Sarah, I'm here." It was Emily again, but softer, pleading. A heartstring plucked from deep within her eyes darted, searching for a figure, a shimmer of familiarity. The light morphed again, shifting, swirling, with hints of Emily's silhouette appearing. Sarah reached out, yearning to grasp her hand, but the shadows raged, surging between them, a churning sea of blackness. "Your love may guide you, but it can also destroy you. Choose wisely," the figure laughed. In a bold surge of defiance, Sarah shouted, "I refuse to accept this. Bullying memories can't chain me." As the words echoed out, She felt a rush of freedom cascade over her. Clenching her fists, she envisioned the love, the laughter, the pure light she shared with Emily. Shadows recoiled, swirling against the force of her resolve. Pieces of glass, remnants from the past, flew up around her, swirling like a storm, sharp, shimmering, threatening yet beautiful. "Help me see the truth," she cried, pushing against trepidation. The shadows roared, forming a massive wave that surged toward her. She envisioned Emily, her smile, her laughter, and with that image burned into her heart, she collided with the darkness. Suddenly, a blinding light enveloped her, and she felt her body unwind from the grip of fear. Just as abruptly, the light extinguished, plunging her into silence. The air thickened, charged with tension, and she found herself alone again, an eerie calm settling in. Was it over? But as she turned, reality jostled her thoughts. She stood before an aged mirror, cracked and dulled. One glance at her reflection warned her that the battle was far from won. Shadows lurked just behind the glass, writhing and whispering conspiracies. There, lurking in the fractures of the mirror, was a face that wasn't her own, a sinister smile creeping through. "Will you confront what lies beneath?" The figure's laughter echoed, reverberating in her soul, sending shivers down her spine. With racing heart and trembling hands, Sarah reached toward the surface, unaware of what awaited her. What truth lay hidden in the reflection? Would confronting it finally free her, or would it cage her heart forever? Sarah's fingers brushed the mirror's cold surface. A tremor shot through her, frozen fears fighting to bring her back. The laughter twisted, rising higher like a sharp knife slicing through her sanity. The reflection shimmered, rippling like water disturbed by an unseen force. "Don't resist," the sinister version of her echoed, lips curling menacingly. It wasn't just her face, it was her childhood. Her rage, her love turned sour, all entwined in that wicked smile. "Embrace the darkness. It's part of you." "What are you?" Sarah choked out, her pulse hammering against her chest. She felt the shadows pressing closer, weaving shadows into her thoughts. A flicker of familiarity struck her suddenly. Emily's laugh like an unbroken hymn. "I am all you hide." The voice encouraged, smooth as silk. "The part that craves the truth. Let me in." "No." She recoiled, heart racing. "Stay away from me." But the truth was a ravenous beast, clawing at the edges of her mind. The laughter transformed, blending with the tragic chorus of lost memories, shouts of terror, wails of the heartbroken. She gasped as visions began to fracture her reality. Images leaped like flames, memories of laughter twisted into cries, happiness contorted into dread. "Look again," the figure urged, gesturing toward the flickering reflection, eyes filled with malice, igniting a storm of chaotic emotions inside her. Every joyful moment with Emily warped into cold loneliness, as if the photos had bled into one another, muddling her heart. "Why must I face this? It's all a lie," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "Is it?" The figure mocked, grin stretching. "These revelations will give you strength or shatter you completely." With each second, the room seemed to pulse, shadows danced, flaring momentarily before suffocating, the shimmer of light in a suffocating grip. A cold sweat trickled down Sarah's back. Her reflection, distorted yet familiar, beckoned her closer, challenging her to confront the monstrosities swirling just beneath the surface. Deep breaths, she reminded herself. "You're strong. I want to see. Show me." The mirror rippled violently and shattered, shards glistening like daggers suspended in the air. Fear coiled tightly around her throat, and sharp, piercing screams echoed in the void. The shards fell, redirecting whispers of secrets long buried, scraping against her skin. Each fragment revealed slices of her past, from moments that shimmered with love to those drowned in anguish. Figures flittered at the edges, lost souls grasping for a sense of belonging. Amongst them, Emily stood, her eyes wide with unspoken truths. "Help me, Sarah," she called, voice laced with sorrow, a haunting melody entwined with dread. "Emily!" The name slipped from Sarah's lips like a lifeline. But as she reached out, Everything shifted again, the shadows darkening, laughing as the air thickened with despair. "It's a trap," the figure laughed. "Can love transcend betrayal?" Shaking, Sarah fought against the growing dread. She had to break free, rushing toward the last remaining piece of her shattered self. She envisioned their moments again, not just the joyful, but every fault she wished to erase. "I won't let you take me," she roared, a wave of defiance surging through her. The shadows shrank back, the figure wailing, but every heartbeat felt like shackles binding her tighter. Then, within the flurry of emotion, she felt a flicker of light, warmth against the cold. Emily, the name echoed like an invocation. But before she could dive further, a deafening crack erupted, and the floor beneath her quaked, ripping apart. As her legs gave way, she tumbled into a bottomless abyss, darkness devouring her cries. As she fell, a voice crept into her mind, seductive and dark. "You thought you could escape, but the truth is where the real horror lies." The shadows roared anew, and the laughter carried her deeper into the void. What secrets awaited in the abyss? Would Sarah find Emily, or would she be lost to the darkness forever? The void swallowed Sarah completely, dragging her into a depthless darkness where time ceased to exist. Her heart raced like a drum, echoing the fear that thrashed inside her. She felt weightless, floating in a storm of her darkest thoughts. Memories flashed, swirling like storm clouds. Emily's laughter and cries mingled, piercing through the vacuum, but also regrets, missed moments, all the love she had taken for granted. "Mom! Help!" The distant voice of Emily echoed through the black void, sending a jolt through Sarah's heart. "Where are you, Emily?" Sarah screamed, desperation clawing at her throat. She felt a sudden pull, an unseen force tugging her towards a faint glimmer in the dark. It was a memory, one of those moments she had secured in her heart. "I'm coming." The shards from her past flickered into view, bright against the darkness. Each piece trembled, shadows recoiling as she reached for a shimmering fragment that pulsed with warmth. Emily's birthday party, balloons drifting in a warm breeze, laughter rising like music. As she grasped it, the memory unfolded around her, and she was swept back to that joyous day. "Mommy!" Young Emily beamed at her, eyes bright, filled with love unshadowed. "Help me blow out the candles." Sarah felt warmth wash over her. Joy surged through her veins, and for a fleeting moment, the darkness receded. But then she heard the whispers lurking in the corners of the joyful memory. Shadows coiled, darkening the scene, whispering deceitful lies. "You're too late," the figure reminded her, voice low and menacing. "Each joy you cherish is tainted by fear. Will you face that truth?" Sarah's heart stumbled, and the panic threatened to unravel her. But she ground her resolve deep into the firmament of her love for Emily. "No, this love is real," she shouted, with the echo of courage igniting within. In an instant, she withdrew her hand from the lovely memory, the warm glow illuminating the shadows, and faced the swirling darkness that surrounded her. "You can't have her." With fierce determination, she surged forward into the dimension where pain fused with glory. "I choose love," she declared defiantly, embracing it all, the joy, the heartache, the vulnerability. The dark figures writhed and recoiled at her declaration, their cruel laughter turning to furious roars. "You think this love will save you? She is destined to be lost." "Emily!" Sarah cried, pushing through the whirlwind of emotion, each heartbeat renewing her resolve. "Everything I am, I've sacrificed for you. I will not let go." In that moment of unwavering fearlessness, the darkness fell back, retreating from her light. The figure loomed large, anger radiating from its face. "You dare defy the shadows?" "I dare to face the truth," Sarah responded, emboldened by the warmth of her love. The world around her tremored, splitting like paper, and with that rip, Emily's figure emerged from the shadows, a radiant light amid the chaos. Emily reached for her mother, eyes wide, filled with a mix of relief and uncertainty. "Mom, I knew you'd come." "Together," Sarah shouted, rushing toward her. The shadows screamed in fury, but Sarah's love blazed like a torch, illuminating every corner mired in gloom. They clasped hands, refusing to separate, pure power surging between them. Now, Sarah yelled, the force of their love pushing back the tide of darkness that had bound them. As it clashed with the shadows, the darkness shrieked, twisting into itself until it splintered and fragmented. With one thunderous exhale, it fled, coiling into smaller shadows that evaporated like fog under the sun. The void brightened, light pouring in, and suddenly everything shifted. The storm swept away, replaced by tranquility. Shimmering memories encircled them, weaving together the laughter, mute moments of beauty, and the pain of loss. Each reminiscence became a star. In that light-filled space they felt whole. "Mom!" Emily cried with delight, and then the child's wonder welled inside Sarah. They were safe. The shadows, while relentless, had no claim anymore, not when their love was alive. With a rush, the world reformatted around them until finally, they stepped into their front yard, the sun shining brightly above. Birds chirped in the trees, and the warmth enveloped them like a soft embrace. Maplewood was alive again, free from the shroud of fear. "Mom, is it over?" Emily asked, her voice a tender echo of vulnerability. "Yes, my love," Sarah said, kneeling to embrace her daughter tightly. "It's over." A weight lifted from Sarah. The curse had broken. The shadows were exiled to the depths they deserved, and from now on, she would cherish each moment with Emily, navigating life with the courage born of truth and love. And as they stood, hand in hand, watching the world around them come alive again, Sarah knew they were free to love and be loved, together. But before you go, there's something crucial you must do right now. You need to subscribe immediately, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And hey, smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm, because it really makes a difference. I want to hear from you, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us get talking. And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything,